Oil-rich socialist hellhole Venezuela is limiting their fuel and gasoline rations to political loyalists, and pampered North American socialists are suddenly missing in action. Late in 2017, as the left in North America freaked out about Russia or Trump or basically anything else, Venezuela was ramping up their political surveillance of their citizens in preparation of a coming election. The government brought in something called the Homeland Card. Sounds innocuous, but this thing isn't an ID card. Venezuelans already have an ID card. This is a card to access the government. Without registering for the Homeland Card, Venezuelans can't access public health care, universities, or even subsidized food. And food has gotten so scarce in Venezuela that people are reduced to eating rats and zoo animals and donkeys to survive. The Homeland Card links and tracks anyone who requests and receives government handouts or government services to their official government records. And that's why 15 million Venezuelans have already signed up for it. Many will starve to death if they don't. And Venezuelans also need this card to vote. Venezuelans were required to personally take a photo of their Homeland Card as it was being scanned by a voting machine, and then they would send that card they took themselves to a government official or their line manager at work. If they didn't do this, they would have their government supports canceled, and if they worked for the government, they could be automatically fired from their jobs. Voters were then forced to turn out for one of Venezuela's sham elections or face starving to death and losing their jobs. This card itself is like a plastic version of the Stasi. It tracks the movements and needs and political leanings of every citizen who has signed up for it. And now the card is being used to reward or punish Venezuelans, and noticeably silent in the face of this Stalinistic intimidation and manipulation are North America's so-called democratic socialists. Canada's Chavez-loving New Democrat Party and American Democratic Socialists like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and Bernie Sanders are pretending like Venezuela isn't even happening right now, while standing on their fraudulent concern for the poor working class as a reason to replicate Venezuelan policies here in North America. It is nuts. The socialist utopia of the left is now forcing its citizens to choose between liberty or starvation, and the mainstream media is falling over itself to ask softball questions at democratic socialists. Venezuela has the world's largest proven oil reserves, and yet they are in an energy and fossil fuel drought because they nationalized their energy sector, chased away private investment, and then they discovered that they didn't have a clue what they were doing when it came to private enterprise. There's not enough fossil fuel energy to fuel the country of Venezuela right now. The Merco Press is now reporting that Venezuela is taking steps to divert its dwindling gasoline supply to vehicle owners who are politically loyal to President Nicolas Maduro. Maduro has ordered a national census to determine how many vehicle owners in Venezuela possess that electronic monitoring Homeland Identity Card. Maduro is trying to find out the political activities of car owners before he allows them to buy the gasoline they need. And the reason why we should all care about this beyond the unreal human suffering experienced by innocent Venezuelans is that Venezuela is the practice of the socialism that far-left Democrats and New Democrats here in Canada want. They advocate for Venezuelan-style socialists here, and that's the mainstream left. They're no longer the fringe radicals. I mean, Justin Trudeau, he's a liberal, but he did just buy a pipeline. And the New Democrats here in Alberta promised to take an ownership stake in that pipeline. The New Democratic Socialists keep telling us that socialism is for the people, that it stops the concentration of power at the top, and it makes everybody equal under the law. They tell me socialism ends political cronyism. But what's happening right now in Venezuela is far worse than cronyism or awarding contracts to friends and politically connected insiders. This is rewarding and awarding the basics of life to only the politically connected, the chosen few, deemed worthy of life by the government. This is evil. Just look at how democratic socialists with whom you disagree treat you online or anywhere else. They call you names like Nazi, which is literally the worst thing that a human could be called, or they dehumanize you altogether by calling you a sewer rat or some other ridiculous name. Do you think for a second that if they were in power, they wouldn't determine you to be unworthy of the necessities of life? For the Rebel.media, I'm Sheila Gunn Reid. Venezuela has a gas shortage right now, but you know who doesn't? Environment and Climate Change Minister Catherine McKenna. To see my story about her private vanity bus service and to sign my petition, go to carboncatherine.com.